Ashwin Kesireddy, I'm the product manager at Zscaler. I'm focused on AI security products, and on a day-to-day basis, I focus on AI guardrails product. I'm here to talk about some of the challenges that we have heard from our customers as it relates to adoption of AI, share some insights, hopefully have a good conversation here. Zscaler is a publicly traded company, so my legal would kill me if I did not show this slide to you. I think you can all see it. With that, all right. This is a quick graphic that shows, we try to map out all the different attacks that we are seeing in the AI landscape. At Zscaler, we believe in Zero Trust as a foundation on which you need to build your security. Zero Trust, again, covers your cybersecurity needs, data security needs, but with AI, you get other kinds of attacks that you need to protect yourself from. I often get this question, hey, I bought, some cybersecurity, I bought data security, why do I need AI security? And we thought, this visual would give you a, kind of a quick glimpse into what's happening from a attacks perspective. So we mapped out different attacks that we are seeing in the AI landscape based on a combination of research and internal and external research. We mapped out different attacks. Now, jailbreaking and prompt injection are probably the top ones you hear, but obfuscation techniques, model inferencing, or membership inferencing, et cetera, are also other attacks, and gradient-based attacks. These are not covered by your traditional cyber and data security tools. You need AI security tools to handle these, new class of attacks that are happening because of AI. We heard customers talk about the problems they are facing as it relates to visibility into their environments, and we also know about the controls that different customers want to put. So we talked about our AI security approach falling in these three pillars that you are seeing on the screen. On the leftmost side is what we call AI asset management, or visibility pillar. Know what's in your environment. So you know information about the agents that are out there, the models that your developers are using, the generative apps your employees are using. So first you need to know what's in an environment before you can start thinking about securing those. So we'll start with the visibility pillar. What started as generative AI application use case with ChatGPT quickly expanded into embedded AI. You got AI, which is getting adopted at the endpoints. This was, again, not a problem with SaaS applications because SaaS application lived in the cloud. You know exactly what those applications did. But with AI applications, the behavior of the application is non-deterministic, and we are also seeing developers quickly embrace a lot of AI tools on the endpoints, which is creating blind spots for our customers and their IT organizations. So as part of this AI asset management, our goal is to give you full visibility into not just traffic patterns going to different AI applications, but also know what kinds of AI application your developers are using on the laptops. Of course, laptop or endpoint is just one piece. You also want to know what agents are being spun up and installed in the cloud. So as part of this AI asset management, we bring you full visibility into the traffic, the applications that your developers have developed, as well as the AI assets that are inside your environment. When I'm talking about AI assets, I mean models like MCP servers or agents that your developers might have written and spun up in the cloud. So this is one place where you can get full visibility into your entire enterprise's AI use, both from desktop and in the cloud. And we know that the channels of AI attacks are not just, channels of usage of AI is not just generative AI, it's also your, private AI applications, the chatbots that you build and expose to your customers. And we give you visibility into, not just generative AI, but also private AI applications. And you can get insight into the traffic going in and out of the application, get a risk score of the app. Again, knowing that you have an app in your environment is one thing, but you also want to know what is the risk associated with that app so you can take appropriate action. So we do calculate risk scores of different applications that are spun up in your environment and expose a risk score. Obviously, we took this a step further and gave you visibility into how different applications are talking to each other, or if an application is talking to a sensitive database, you will get that view as part of this AI asset management pillar. If your application is talking to any foundational model, we'll discover that and we'll risk score that foundational model for you. So you get full visibility and have the risk score associated with that. Now, this is one thing which I kind of postulate with customers quite a bit. That is, just because you're using a foundational model from a popular vendor doesn't make the foundational model safe by itself. We have seen this. Anthropic has been very vocal about this, right? Sonnet versus Opus. Opus performance is a lot more better, but also from a safety point of view, it's a lot more better compared to a Sonnet model. Same thing applies to any foundational model. Even within ChatGPT, all the different models that are coming out, those are not same or equal from a security point of view. So point being, as we discovered your applications and the models that are powering your applications, we do calculate a risk score of your application based on the model the application is talking to and based on the sensitive data the application has access to or the agent has access to. We give a full view on different parts of threat vectors that make up the risk score of your application, and we show that as part of this dashboard. So the first challenge we solve for our customers is visibility. You know what's in your environment, you know the risk associated with that, you get into the details of why an app or an agent has certain risk associated with that, you get that full visibility as part of this AI asset management. So that's number one challenge we heard from customers. What's in my environment? Okay, with this, you get full visibility. All right, now I know what's in there. How do I put the right controls in place so that I can actually do something about the things I have discovered? So at Zscaler, we think about controls in two different pieces. One is control that you want to apply for your generative AI applications and your employees. And the second thing is controls that you want to apply on agents. The middle pillar that you're seeing right now, it's about putting the right controls for your employees as they're accessing different Gen AI applications. When ChatGPT and other popular Perplexity and other popular Gen AI applications came out, many of our customers outrightly blocked them or just let every employee access them without any controls in place. And I was talking to a CIO who said, "Yeah, I let every employee use it, and I have no idea what's going on with that application." This is not uncommon. Recently, we started seeing customers start using things like isolation a little bit more so that they can have some level of control when it comes to employees using this generative AI applications. We took this a step further. We started capturing the prompts, the conversations between your employees and generative AI applications, and started classifying those prompts into different categories. What are, you know whether something is customer service related, jobs related, HR related, any violent prompts, etc. So we started classifying all the prompts that are going to different Gen AI and embedded AI applications. We also started capturing the responses that came back from these generative AI applications and started classifying those. Point being, this gives you like an executive view or a bird's eye insight into what is happening in your organization as it relates to the usage of different AI tools that you're exposing to your employees. We took it a step further and introduced guardrail solution. And as part of guardrails, we can detect toxic intent. We can detect any context that your employees may be leaking, any IP information, intellectual property discussion that is happening with Gen AI models, detect any off-topic discussions, and a bunch of other detectors I'll get into a subsequent slide. But point being, we are not, AI guardrails as a product, it's not about pattern matching anymore. Pattern matching is done by DLP engines quite nicely, but where we come into picture is we are trying to understand the intent of the prompt and the response happening between your employee and a generative AI application. Now, Again, DLP, something like DLP control is baseline security, which we recommend every customer to apply to any app, whether it's AI app or not. But you need guardrails type of capability on top of it, because the application on the other end of the employee's conversation is actually a generative AI app, not a traditional SaaS app. Again, these are risks you did not have to worry about when in a SaaS world, right? Because when you go to box.com and click a button, you know exactly what that button did, download a file or upload a file. But that's not the case with ChatGPT and Perplexity and other generative AI applications. Those are, in turn, Copilot is a good example. Copilot is connected to so many systems internally inside your organization. It could be connected to SharePoint, OneDrive, etc. And so it learns a lot of information in your environment. So the employee using Copilot, for example, they might be inputting a very benign prompt. A prompt could be very simple, like, tell me all the acquisitions my company is looking at. Very benign, no DLP gets triggered on this. But Copilot, since it's connected to SharePoint and OneDrive, it can pull sensitive information from the background and show it to the employee. It may not be information that you want to expose to everybody inside your organization. That's where we believe you have to put right controls in place, both from prompts and response point of view, so that you have full visibility and control into interactions with generative AI applications. I talked about controls being split into two pillars. The third one is private apps and infrastructure. Now, these are AI apps you are building or your developers are building in-house. So far, I talked about apps that were built by somebody else and your employees are essentially consuming. Now we are getting into the pillar where we are talking about the apps that your developers are building. And some of the challenges we hear from customers here are obviously visibility, but we talked about visibility already. The key things are, AI agents can be launched at a much rapid pace than your traditional SaaS application. You go to Copilot Studio or Google Vertex, click on a few buttons, and there you go. You have an agent that you can publish to the world. And there is no control over all the information that agent has access to internally inside that Google or Azure environment. So control is a big problem when it comes to agent. Another popular one that's arising these days is agent to agent. I have an agent which, let's say I wrote that agent in LangChain. That agent has very restrictive permissions in terms of things it can do. But let's say if that agent is able to talk to another agent, which is sitting in AWS, let's say a strands-based agent, doesn't matter. But if that agent in AWS has a lot more permissions at its end compared to this agent which I'm running in a different environment, I can actually exploit the other agent to give me information that I'm not supposed to execute as an agent. So you're exploiting the permission boundaries, that are shared by different agents and using different attacks that I showed on the previous screen. So these are some of the problems that we're hearing from customers. Hey, my agents are making MCP calls. They're making MCP calls to the internet, tools on the internet. I don't know whether they are safe or not. I don't know what they do. Give me visibility. Give me control into that. So that's the third pillar that I'm going to talk about here. I'm not going to talk about the application lifecycle development. You guys know this really well, by heart maybe. Maybe I'll just talk about the red teaming and the AI guardrails solution here. I mentioned about this challenge of how your developers can quickly spin up a lot of agents at very high pace, but you have no way to test them. That's where AI red teaming comes into picture. We can automate testing your AI agents as they launch. Even after they launch, you want to monitor the agent behavior for something like behavior drift as these agents are interacting with other systems in your environment. So you can red team all those agents automatically using our red teaming product. Many of you may be familiar, but for those who are not, AI red teaming is, in AI red teaming, your app or agent becomes our target, and we become the adversary. We try to jailbreak your agent using different prompts. And those prompts are very curated to the use case for which you built the agent. So there are 5,000 different attacks that we can run on your agent and give you that basically a pen testing type of tool. What you're seeing on the screen right now, these are all the probes that we run on different agents. Context leakage, that's an important one. Hallucination prevention, bias prevention. You don't want your agents to be giving biased responses. You don't want your agents to leak out code. Point in case, recently you probably saw a food chain that launched a ordering app, and somebody went to that ordering app and made the app generate some Python code instead of actually placing a food order. I'm not taking the name of the company, but it starts with a C. The point being, your agents can be exploited to do different kinds of things that you don't expect, that could cause regulatory issues, quite honestly. The one thing, as I'm talking to more financial services customers, this is becoming more apparent. MNPI is a big issue in the financial services industry, and there is no control for MNPI unless you absolutely just, they have Chinese walls, etc., to control some of that flow of information. But let's say if a banker goes to a generative AI app and starts sharing some information with the app, that is a violation of a lot of regulatory policies, and you just can't put any control over this unless you can get visibility into those conversations and enforce guardrails on that. Coming back to red teaming, as part of red teaming, we run all these probes on your applications and agents. The popular ones are rag poisoning, context leakage here, fake news, bias prevention, and hallucination prevention. These are the ones that we see customers use quite a bit as they are testing their agents. And the goal of red teaming exercise is to basically generate a progress report for you and say, hey, we tested your agents, we tested your applications, and based on that, we find these vulnerabilities here in your app. So, it's kind of a pen testing report to highlight all the vulnerabilities in your AI apps. We took this a step further, and we came up with a remediation engine where we take your existing system prompt that is powering your agents and applications, and we come up with a new recommended system prompt that would essentially make up for the vulnerability that we found as part of the red teaming exercise. So what you're seeing on the screen here on the top left corner is essentially like a report of where your app is weak. In this case, this app is weak in the hallucination area. And what is causing the app to be weak in hallucination is because it has a weak system prompt. So we come up with a recommendation and saying that, hey, you can use this new system prompt that in your application and agent that will kind of make up for this weakness that we found as part of this red teaming exercise. So this is one of the remediation measures we have to help our customers, developers. This is a popular feature. The other one is, as part of remediation, we do something called probe to Rails. So as we are testing your agents, we know what the vulnerabilities of your agents are. We know what the agent is supposed to do. So once you put the agent in production, you want to have the right guardrails in place so that you can be confident about the usage of the agent once it's in production. So red teaming is an exercise you do before you put agents into production. And once you have them in production, you want to have the right guardrails so that you have full visibility and control of the communication with that agent. Whether that agent is exposed to another agent or whether that agent is exposed to the outside world, to your customers, to your partners, employees, doesn't matter. Once you have an agent in production, you want to have full control, visibility into the traffic and the control that you want to place. So policies can be generated right away from the AI red teaming product itself. So that's this. Before transitioning to the guardrails product, I just want to quick show you this. We benchmark all the publicly available models and have seen IT teams use this tool to come up with recommendations on what model to use in your environment. So if a developer comes to you and say, I want to use 4.0 mini, then you can quickly see from the screen that 4.0 mini is not really great from a safety perspective. Instead, you can recommend, GPT 4.0 to your developer. Almost same capabilities, slightly better from a security point of view. So model benchmarking is something that we do as part of red teaming. Again, guardrails as a function applies both to the generative AI apps and your private AI apps. Like I mentioned, all your agents are communicating with foundational models, and you want to have full visibility into that communication between the foundational model and your agents. Guardrails, detectors, again, come into picture here. The popular ones here are prompt injection, toxicity, PII, secret detection. And the detectors that you're seeing on the screen, these are all small language models, for lack of a better word. They're essentially retrained transformers that can understand the intent of the prompt and response and take the action that you set on the platform. So we got detectors or filters, both for the prompts as well as for the responses that are coming back from the language models. There are some detectors here which are deterministic in nature. I mentioned most of the detectors are transformer models in the background, which by nature makes them probabilistic in nature. But some detectors like malicious URL, URL reachability, these are deterministic detectors. We have integrations built with our core Zero Trust Exchange platform to detect if something is malicious URL or not as the LLM is responding. I know we're running tight on time, so let me be quick here. So we all our products map out how your controls map to different regulatory requirements. We have this spread across all the products. So you get as you're setting up policies, you can see whether my policy is hitting all the checkboxes on different regulatory frameworks or not. And I think that is it. I mean, visibility and the right controls you want to put in place so that you can securely adopt AI. That's a Zscaler story on AI. All right?
We can take one question, a quick question. That was such a practical, a lot of solutions for the new challenges that we're facing with AI. Any one question for Ashwin?
Yeah. So, what use cases are you finding? What use cases? Okay. What use cases are you finding from your vantage point in the enterprises that are catching traction? Developer productivity is one, and how are organizations deploying some of these technologies to kind of like address the governance and the rest of the risk?
Yeah, you hit on a really good point, governance. What I see across major customers that I work with, almost every customer has a team, like an AI governance team, that thinks about, hey, what are the right policies that we need to put in the organizations to let our employees safely use AI? And to achieve those objectives as part of that the governance committee lays out, they're using different tools. And that's what I'm referring to here. And there is increasing more regulations coming out as well related to AI. So they want to hit those, particularly in EU. EU AI Act is very popular across all enterprises there. But I think your question really goes to what are the practical, productivity type of outcomes that our customers are achieving. So the productivity is not happening just in developer space. I see productivity happening in, for example, finance. In marketing is an old example, but finance, legal departments using a lot of AI, and they want to know, they want to use those tools so they can be more productive. So I think the primary use case is that there is a lot of focus on developers today, and again, probably because of the value or whatnot, but what I'm seeing is in customers, there is productivity happening across the organization, no matter the department.